Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. It's Paulie Esther here, and today we're going to have a tinfoil hat video, and we're going to talk about the possibility of the return of Stranger Things. We're going to look at the pieces of evidence that have been pushed across my desk and talk about them, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the whole situation. Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about the Shrine of Secrets. If you don't know what the Shrine of Secrets is, it's in the store here, this tab at the top, Shrine of Secrets. And this allows you to unlock teachables for characters that you may not own for your other characters using your iridescent shards. Now, I was streaming this particular day when the Shrine of Secrets refreshed, and somebody said, Paulie, you got to go look at the Shrine of Secrets. I don't use the Shrine of Secrets a lot because I own all of the characters, and I don't really get any value out of this other than converting my shards into blood points, which I think is at a tremendous disadvantage for the amount of time that it takes you to earn these shards. I think it is incredibly low value for the blood points you get for it. Bad value, so I never ever do this. So I don't really visit the shrine, but somebody said you need to go look at the shrine. And so when I brought up the shrine, there were two perks here from the Stranger Things characters. And at first I thought they were pointing out at the icons that they portrayed Steve and Nancy rather than the generic icons that you see coming out if you're somebody new who is new to the game and doesn't have the Stranger Things chapter available to you. And I said, yeah, well, those icons are there because you own that content, so it's showing you Steve and Nancy in those icons for those perks, and that's why they're not the generic perk icons. But they said, wait a minute, Paulie. No, you misunderstand what I'm trying to say. And I said, what's that? And they said, well, these, when the chapter became defunct and no longer available, all of Steve and Nancy's and the Demogorgon's perks were made into common pool perks that anyone could get just by going through the blood webs. You didn't need to buy the chapter to unlock these perks for everybody anymore because you couldn't. So they made the perks accessible to all. So why would these ever be in the shrine? Because they're not teachable perks anymore. Anybody can get them by going through the blood web. Why would they be in the shrine to unlock? And I was like, oh, wow, that's a really good point. So then it made me think, did somewhere along the way, are there plans to reintroduce this chapter and these perks got categorized as teachables again by like the devs who are working on the current build? And somehow they got thrown into the RNG for the shrine, and they showed up in the shrine as teachables, which was very, very strange. I was like, wow, that is really weird. And I think it took like a day, and then they readjusted the shrine and took those two perks away and put them in with just perks that were still teachable from other characters. Another point that was brought up to me was upon the Alien chapter release, there was a buff to the Demogorgon. So if we look in the patch notes 7.2, which was the Xenomorph Alien chapter release, we have all of this here. These are all buffs to Demogorgon here that made these changes where they increased how long Demo was undetectable after teleporting, and it changed, buffed the effects of a few of the add-ons. And so when someone pointed this out to me when I was streaming on Twitch and live chat, I said, well, you know, I've actually had this discussion with Matthew in an interview before, and he confirmed for me that Dead by Daylight, even though they no longer had a relationship with Netflix, that balance changes for characters are solely in their control, even though they no longer had a relationship with Netflix, and they had the flexibility to make game changes without Netflix approval. So this would fall under that heading, that they don't need Netflix to give the okay to change how Demo works in the game. Gameplay decisions are solely behaviors at their own discretion, and Netflix doesn't really have any say in, you know, these kind of tweaks. And somebody said, okay, I get what you're saying there, but with so few people having access to Demogorgon as time goes by and players come in and out of the game, and we have new players who are coming in who have never had access to Demogorgon, why are they spending resources to make Demo better if fewer people are playing as this character? Don't you think that this could possibly suggest that Demo is coming back and will be available again, and they want to get him spruced up so that he's in a good place as a more balanced killer once the chapter becomes available again. And that is a good point, but I will say if you look at these changes, this isn't like a complete rework or overhaul of how Demogorgon works. These are just micro changes where they change a few values in the code and have tested the balance on, you know, how oppressive is Demogorgon if we increase his undetectable by 2 more seconds, for example, these kind of things. So yeah, they probably have put some quality control into play testing these changes, but really it's just like tweaking of some values here. So I do see the point of, you know, with so many other killers that everyone has access to that could use some love and some sprucing up, why are they doing buffs to a character that hardly, I don't want to say hardly anybody, but, you know, a much smaller percentage of the player base has access to? Why are they prioritizing that? Which is a good point, but again, I don't think that there's a lot of labor intense involved in this by tweaking some values. Okay, the other thing that was brought to my attention was this tweet by Stranger Things that says, "Excuse our mess," and somebody pointed out, Paulie, did you see that the Dead by Daylight logo is here in the rubble of Stranger Things' latest tweet? Do you think that is indicating the return of Stranger Things to Dead by Daylight? Well, in actuality, what I think this is if you watch the show, this is Robin's whiteboard where she was keeping a tally board of Steve with the "you rule" and "you suck" in the show. And while it does resemble the Dead by Daylight logo, you can see with that extra hash mark, it's most likely Robin's whiteboard there. And what I think, I haven't followed up with this tweet, but what I believe it is the Scoops Ahoy Ice Cream Parlor tweet. I think that this is promoting their exclusive Scoops Ahoy ice cream that they're selling at Walmart in the United States, much like the Surfer Boy pizzas they sold at Walmart last year. I don't know if you can still get Surfer Boy pizza at Walmart, but Netflix is very good at licensing, and they have found a more than willing partner with Walmart for some co-packer foods between the Surfer Boy pizza and now the Scoops Ahoy ice cream. And Matthew, maybe what we need to do is get Walmart to broker the return of the Stranger Things to Dead by Daylight, because they seem to love Walmart. So if you know anybody at Walmart, see if you can make that happen. I don't know. Stranger Things doesn't seem to have a lot of qualms about licensing their stuff, except to Dead by Daylight. And I really don't have any answer for it, other than they went down this road of making their own video games. I'm not sure if that is still on track at all, or if they have swayed away from that. I'm hoping for a return of Stranger Things to Dead by Daylight. Fingers crossed. Okay, so a lot of people point to this interview that Mathieu Cote did with Slasher Radio as evidence that Netflix is done with Dead by Daylight. Stranger Things is never coming back to Dead by Daylight. Netflix is incommunicado with Dead by Daylight. But I have a different opinion on it. But first, let's go ahead and listen to what Matthew has to say in this interview.
I would probably be crucified if I didn't bring it up. Stranger Things.
Yeah, what about it?
Everyone's begging for Hawkins Lab and just all how relevant it is now. People just want so much more of it. I guess it's kind of the same road as the Terrifier 2. It's just, what's the stance on this now as far as Dead by Daylight? Is this something that, you know, how interested are you guys in revisiting?
Have you talked to people at Netflix recently?
I've tried to.
Yeah, me too.
That's super fair. That's super fair.
I mean, we have never wanted to remove content from the game.
Absolutely.
It's never been our plan or a business plan. That being said, we have talked about potentially like limited time offers for a few different things, because that could be interesting, but that's never been the plan so far. And so it was not our decision to remove that content. And if we could get it back, we would be happy to.
Okay, so people watch this and they say, that's it, that's the nail in the coffin, it is over. Netflix doesn't want to do anything with Dead by Daylight. They're not returning Matthew's calls. I completely disagree, and I don't think that this interview, this portion of this interview, actually means anything. I'll link the interview down here if you want to watch the whole hour and 10 minutes and see the other things that Mathieu talks about. But to me, this portion of the interview means absolutely nothing. I have interviewed Mathieu myself with King a couple of times, and I know that Mathieu has to hold his cards close to his vest. He obviously can't open up and tell about everything as much as he might want to. He has to be evasive, and while he won't lie to you straight to your face, he'll give vague non-answers and things like that. And if you actually rewind it, go back and look at what he said. He said, have you talked to Netflix recently? And Slasher Radio says, I tried to. And then Mathieu says, yeah, me too. Okay, so what does that mean? Did Mathieu say, I tried to and they won't answer my calls? I tried to, but I was unsuccessful? No, he doesn't say any of that. He says, I tried to. So does that mean failure? You could have tried to and been successful, right? Like he could be openly telling us that, yes, he has, without saying it straight up, yes, he has tried to talk to Netflix and talk to them. I think this is all a diversion, personally. I would not be surprised if Mathieu has open discussions with Netflix again about Stranger Things coming back to Dead by Daylight. And to me, this is completely a non-answer that may make it seem like he has been unsuccessful in his attempts to get back in contact with Netflix, but it could mean the very opposite. Me too. Have you tried to talk? Have you talked to Netflix recently? I tried to. Yeah, me too. But the me too could be like, yes, you successfully opened negotiations with them again, right? So I don't think this interview holds any water as far as saying that Stranger Things isn't coming back. Obviously, all the other stuff we know already when he says it wasn't our decision for them to leave, which is open and fair. But none of this says, and then he ends it up by saying something like, if we could get it back, we would, right? So maybe the groundwork for that has been laying already and it's going to come out. Who knows? But I really don't think that this interview is the nail in the coffin that people make it out to be for the reasons I've outlined here. Okay, so that about summarizes all of the evidence that has been pushed across my desk recently. I do think it is very curious that the teachable perks for Nancy and Steve found their way back into the shrine. I don't believe that has ever happened before. So it would be very unusual for them to have suddenly been miscategorized as teachables. There may be something there. As far as buffing the Demogorgon, I don't think that was a big labor-intensive effort to do, but I do think it's curious that they would do that when so many other killers could use some love too. So maybe they are prepping Demo for his return to beef him up a little bit. The Scoops Ahoy rubble, I don't think that's anything. I think that is solely connected to the ice cream. And as I said, the Mathieu Cote interview, I would not be surprised if that was all subterfuge. Like, you even see Mathieu has a little bit of a smile when he says, yeah, me too, about, I tried talking to Netflix. And he's like, yeah, me too, with a little wry smile. I would not be surprised at all if Mathieu has indeed gotten back in touch with Netflix and laid the groundwork for a Stranger Things chapter to return to Dead by Daylight. But what do you think about all of this stuff? Give me your opinions on this. Does any of this look a little suspect to you, that there has to be something here? Or is this all just typical balance changes and just a bug glitch for the Shrine of Secrets, and Mathieu Cote is being completely honest and saying, yeah, Netflix won't answer my calls? I want to hear from you. What do you think about all this? I mean, obviously, you're watching this video because you hope that the chapter is going to return, I would assume. How many of you out there own it? How many of you out there don't own it but are desperate for it to return because you want to buy it? I'm really curious to hear from you. If you want it back, why? Do you want to see the Hawkins lab map return as well? I'm very curious to hear all of your opinions on this subject matter. But that's the end of my tinfoil talk today. Thank you for coming to my tinfoil talk. As always, appreciate the time that you spend here with me on my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel out a ton. And don't forget to take care of each other in and out of the fog. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
It's a generous life for us.
It's a Gen Rush life for us. Set a hiding, we do gens. Set a randoms, we got friends. It's a Gen Rush life.